100, Sam Walker celebrated his 26th birthday just over a week ago. He is a world bronze medalist, a double Commonwealth silver medalist in Glasgow and the Gold Coast. Sam is a Rio Olympian, but unfortunately has just missed out in this year's Olympic qualifier for Tokyo. He has won just about every national age group title. Sam plays his club table tennis in France, where he is joining us now. Welcome, Sam.
Hiya, thank you for having me on. Pleasure.
Brilliant. Okay, there's just Mark, even though it says Matthew. Mark Lundberg is my co-host. Mark is a national selector, and he is also a former national player. So, welcome to Mark as well. We're ready for a good night. How are you feeling, Mark? Good?
Yeah, good, Dave. Pleasure to have Sam on. Have a good chat this evening. I haven't been on for a few weeks, so it's also good to get back live again. Putting pressure to get my name right, even though it says Matt. So really putting pressure on you this evening. Right here.
Obviously, Sam said his birthday is his 26th birthday. Any other birthdays? Table tennis birthdays? Sam, do you want to wish anybody a happy birthday the last week?
Was it somebody else's birthday?
No. Mark, I'm going to call you Matt now all night.
Yeah,
Mark,
there we go. It's gone. No, I can't think anyone's birthdays, Dave. That's been. We'll probably missed somebody, but we'll catch up in the next session if anyone missed.
Yeah, anybody with. Yeah, I mean, those of you who've been on the Table Tennis Scotland website, there's been some really fantastic photographs of Sam, action ones, and I'd like to thank Mike Loveday, who supplied us with those photographs. Mike Loveday photography. So thank you, Mike. And just before we start, heads up, our summer school is back on at Largs from the 6th to the 10th of July. So if you're looking for a summer holiday of table tennis, we've got Colin Wilson, who's heading the camp, along with Adam Wilson and lots of other good coaches. Anyway, back to tonight's session, and we're going to go back to the World Teams in Kuala Lumpur, and England got a bronze medal for the first one since I think 1983, and part of that team was Sam. And there's actually quite a story about that. You only had minimum players, and how did you get in the team, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I was always selected from the beginning for that team, and I'd been in the national team, then playing the tournaments with the lads for a few years at that point. I think my first team event was the Europeans in 2013, which was in Vienna, and I played okay there. And since then, I'd been a part of the team, but you know, I was still young at that point, and even though, you know, I was part of the team who in 2014 in Tokyo, when we got promotion from the second division in the Worlds, I was part of that team. I was part of the team in Glasgow. I'd not really played much of a part in terms of actually playing. I was more of the water boy on the bench, just there for the experience, still at that point. And yeah, that 2016 team, it was supposed to be obviously the three of us and Bagley. And yeah, I think one of Andrew's family members passed away not long before the event, and so he pulled out of the event. And yeah, we were already at that point. We just all met up in Singapore, because obviously at that point Liam and myself were both practicing in Oxenhausen in Germany. I'm not sure where Paul was at that point, but yeah, so, and obviously Al, who was the coach, had flown in from England. So we'd all been on different flights and met up in Singapore for a training camp with the Singapore team and the Russian team about, you know, a couple of weeks before the start of the tournament. And obviously there was just the three of us, and we were having a conversation together as a team. And I think they ended up inviting Danny Reid, who not long, I think at the start of that season, just decided he was going to move on from playing full time into going into studying, I think, psychology. He went to study. And so rather than just having the three of us, obviously for a long tournament in case somebody gets injured and stuff, we decided we were going to, that the selection was going to invite Danny into that team to come and join us. But Danny, he decided to decline the offer, really, because he wasn't probably in this frame of mind to go into a World Championships. He didn't feel like it'd do himself and the team justice, really, because obviously he'd not been training as much and focused more on studying, which is, I respect that decision from Danny. Danny was a good lad. And I don't know if he'll regret it now or not, but no, he was a top lad, and that was, that was his decision, and we accepted that. And then we just went in with the three of us, knowing that we were obviously all going to be playing at that point.
Yeah. So you're going into this massive championship, as you say, knowing you've only got the bare minimum team. Was that in some ways took the pressure off, you think, because you knew you couldn't be dropped, or so it gave you time to build your game? How did you feel about that, knowing that no matter what, you was going to play every game?
For me, it's not that it dropped the pressure, but it just, gave me that security that I knew no matter how it went, I was going to be playing every game. Because obviously I'd been a little bit in and out of the team. Albeit at that point, I was more in the team than out of it, because I'd had some good results leading up to that. But I'd never really contributed loads and loads to the team in the team events by that point. So, for me, I still didn't feel like I was 100% part of the team, just because, I'd not really cemented my place in that team yet. And so for me, it definitely helped in that sense that there was only three of us, because I didn't get off to a good start in that tournament, really. I started first match against Sweden. We lost 3-0, and I lost to Jon Persson 3-0 quite easy, really. And I just almost thought, even though I've been playing in first Bundesliga, and I'd had some good results there, I kind of thought, is this, this was my first World Championships that was in the first division. So I was like, am I still not ready for this yet? Because then I lost the second match to Floor as well, quite easily, really. I think it was 3-1, but it was a fairly comfortable match for him. So obviously there was a few doubts there that, am I good enough yet for this? Am I not ready? Do I need a bit more time? But obviously that security of knowing that I was going to be playing anyway was a help. And then, as we know, then we played Denmark and Germany after that.
Can I just stop you there? So you played these two games. What we always talk about, bounceability, the players who can come back from a setback are normally the players who make it. The ones who can't handle defeat, because we all lose at table tennis, are the ones who never make it. So I want to know your mindset. You've played two games for the team. You've lost your matches. What was going through your mind for the third match? Did you think, oh no, not another one, or I'm going to put this right, or?
I mean, the only thing you can do, I mean, with not just for me as well, we'd lost those two matches as a team, and this was the first time we'd come back into the first division for a long time, and our goal for that tournament was to stay in the first division. We didn't want to go back down to the second division. And so obviously the pressure was on us as a team as well, because the next match was against Denmark, which was a must-win match for us in the group, even just to, in terms of for us staying in the first division, it was a must-win match to make our job a lot easier in terms of staying in that division. And obviously there's no looking back. I mean, what's happened's happened. So, we've lost to Sweden, we've lost to France, which at that point are 2 matches we were expected to lose. So there was no, we'd not played as well as we'd have liked, but there's no, feeling sorry for ourselves or anything like that, because we weren't expected to win those matches. So for us, we just had to make sure we went out and did a job against Denmark, and then we had a match against Germany and a match against Malaysia, and obviously, again, our job really was to win the match against Denmark and win the match against Malaysia, and that would mean we'd stay in the first division, pretty much. So yeah, there was no looking back and no dwelling on those defeats. It was just, we've got to go out and do a job against Denmark now. And that's, there's no time anyway. In those big tournaments, there's no time to look back at those matches. It's one match to the next. Sometimes 2 in the same day, and if it's not in the same day, it's the next day. So you've not got time to look back and think about those matches anyway in those kind of tournaments. So yeah, that was the way we did it, really.
Yeah. So the ball's rolling now. You beat Denmark, and then is your confidence changing at that point? Is your game? Do you feel you're playing better? Did the team feel right? We're on the move now. What was the mindset game by game?
Yeah, I mean, I think because obviously at that point, Denmark were a dangerous team, but not a top team. So, they had at that point Jonathan Grott, who probably wasn't as good at that point as what he is now. He was the number 1. I can't actually remember who played at number 2 for them.
That's okay.
It might have been Kasper Sternberg back then. And then number 3 was Mikkel Henderson. And yeah, I went on at 1-1. I think one of the lads had lost to Grott. I can't remember if it was Paul or Pitch. And I just remember my match against Henderson, and it was, I think I lost the first set actually. So I was, a bit nervous. It's a big match, 1-1, a must-win game. Yeah. The team scores 1-1, and yeah, mine's obviously an important match there to go either 2-1 up or 2-1 down. So lost the first set. But yeah, then after that I came out and, I won fairly convincingly after that. It was quite a convincing game after that. I played a lot better and more aggressive, just kind of freed up a little bit. And yeah, that just, it got the ball rolling for me, but also for the team. Obviously, we'd won that match. Then at that point, France beat Germany as well. And so, we saw that and we said, if they can do it, we can. We had Germany next. And obviously Ovcharov wasn't there. He was injured, I think, and back in Germany. Timo was ill. So, and we said, Al, I remember before that match, Al came to us, we had a meeting, and Alan Cook, obviously the coach at that time. And he just said to us, he said, look, these guys are used to playing behind Bol and Ovcharov. They've not had to have the pressure of playing without them, and they need to win the matches. So, we've got nothing to lose. We've just beaten Denmark. Go out there, give it your best shot on your day. You can all win your matches. And I think we really took that, and we believed. We went into that match believing we could beat them. And obviously we did. I can't remember the actual individual matches now. I remember they played with Felix, Steiger and Francisco. Francisco played in the middle because I played against him. And I can't remember the way that we played it and who played who first. But we won 3-1 anyway. And obviously I played again at 1-1 in the middle against Francisco. And I'd beaten Francisco in the league that year as well before that. So I went into that match with quite a bit of confidence. And I knew he'd be nervous because he'd lost to me last time. It was 1-1 against us. Germany are expected to win every game, apart from China, really. So yeah, we knew that they'd be nervous, and obviously they were. And we, to our credit, we capitalized on that and made the most of it. And yeah, that's when it really kick started for us, when we beat Germany there. And then, yeah, obviously the next match was a more routine match, obviously, against Malaysia, who were only in the group and the division because it was in Malaysia. So we went there and we beat them 3-0. We did our job. We did a professional job, 3-0 win. And then we had to watch the next match, which was Sweden against Germany. And Sweden were playing to win the group, or perhaps come second in the group anyway. And Germany were playing. So if Germany won, we wouldn't go through, and Germany would. And if Sweden won, we'd go through, and Germany wouldn't on comeback. So we sat and watched that, and obviously Sweden did us a favour and beat Germany, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. Mark, do you want to pick up this tournament from here?
Yeah, so obviously after that, we then move on to the last 16. Would that be right? Poland.
Yeah. Yes.
And then also then goes on to France. I think my observation of seeing the results is the 3-2s. Going into these big matches. Obviously, last 16, you win 3-2 against Poland. Then you obviously go on against France. Then it's 3-2. A team obviously beat you earlier on in the tournament. What was sort of the games like in that one, or more the feeling in the camp to some extent of like those epic final game deciders and winning them?
Yeah, so I think in those kind of tournaments, particularly, momentum is a massive thing, and especially for at that point a team like us who were the underdogs, but we had the quality there, and yeah, we had a lot of momentum at that point. Obviously, we'd already overachieved by going through the group and getting into the last 16. So that was that. You know, staying in the first division was out of the way. You know, we'd achieved that. We've done that. And then, you know, momentum started to kick in, you know, at that point. And to be fair, I mean, what happens is if you come third in the group, or what happened at that tournament, I think it did. Yeah, it definitely did in the other one. So if you come first in the group, you get a day off. So you don't play in the last 16, and you go straight to the quarters, and you get that day off. And I think it worked in our favour playing the last 16 because we kept the momentum going. Whereas for France, who got that day off, and then we played them in the quarters, I think it didn't work in their favour. And I think equally in 2018, when we played the Worlds in Halmstad, and I think that was some of the best table tennis as a team we've ever played in the group. We beat everybody in the group. We beat Chinese Taipei, we beat Japan, we beat Belarus, and we beat Belgium. We won all our group games, and we came first in the group. But then we got a day off and went to the quarters, and it was like we were like a different team in that quarters. We were nowhere near as good as what we were in the group. So I think in 2018 that worked against us. But in 2016, having, you know, the momentum of playing that next day again, we didn't have the day off. That definitely worked in our favour, and we kept the momentum going. Obviously, we beat Poland 3-2 in a ridiculously close match. I mean, almost every game in that match was 3-2 as well. And yeah, it was a great match to be part of. I was a bit disappointed with my match against, can't remember his name, Daniel Gorak, that's it, in the middle. I lost a close game there. I felt like I could have done more really in that match. And that would have been good for the team. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed with that match. But obviously, you know, Pitch and Paul got us over the line. Yeah, in a incredible 3-2 match. So yeah, then it just, you know, the momentum just carried on. And then we went to France. Even though we'd lost to him in the group, we at that point, with the momentum, we believed we could beat them that day. You know, we believed, and we knew we had the quality to beat them. You know, Paul, I think that season, Paul played in the same team in the league as Leberson, and Pitch played in the same team as Gauzy. So, you know, we knew we could beat the players. There was no doubt about that. And we had the momentum and we had the belief. And yeah, we took that into that game. And yeah, that's how it went, really.
And then we get to the semi-final against Japan. Who was it? Yourself that we got the one? Was it?
Yes, yeah.
I knew that already. I just wanted you to
that. No. I mean, I remember in the quarters against France, obviously, I lost my match in the middle against Flo. And at that point in my career, I didn't like playing against Flo because of his style with his serves and the way he played. I didn't used to like playing against him. And I remember because I'd been playing a lot better since the group, I almost expected to do better in that match against Flo than what I did in the group. And I didn't. And I was really, really disappointed with myself in that match because obviously I just remember sitting on the bench. So we were 2-1 down at that point, obviously, just after my match. And I remember sitting on the bench. I was like, please don't let this be the last match of this tournament for me because I don't want to finish. Because already it was such a good tournament for us. I was like, please don't let this tournament finish for me on that note because I was so disappointed with the way I played in that match. Not the fact that I lost. You know, you can lose matches because at that level, everybody's a good player. You know, you can lose matches. That's not a problem. But it's just the way I played. I felt like I could have done more. I came off the table feeling like there was more I could have done. And that's what made me so disappointed. And I was just like, please don't let this be the last match I play of this tournament. So I was like so behind the lads to win that match. And then, yeah, there was a bit of tensions rose. It got a bit heated, that match at the end, should we say, particularly between Pitch and Gauzy. But yeah, I mean, that's, you know, part of the sport. And at that level, when both teams are competing for the chance to get a world championship medal, you may never get that chance again in our sport. And you know, it meant so much to both teams that, you know, that's how it got. And yeah, I think we were just good enough at that point, and we'd come so far in that tournament, we weren't willing to lose. And yeah, credit to Pitch and Paul in that one as well for getting us over the line into that semi-final. And I was so relieved, obviously emotionally very happy because we've got the bronze medal already secured. But I was so relieved that match individually wouldn't be my last match of that tournament. And I had another opportunity to go out and play better than what I played in that quarters.
And can you tell our viewers who did you play?
Yeah, I played Oshima in that match. That was Oshima. We were 2-0 down. But the way the matches went in that semi-final, Pitch, I think it was Pitch first. No, it was Paul first. Sorry. Yeah, Paul was first. Paul lost to Mitsutani first match. Mitsutani played well in that one. And then second match, Pitch went on against Yoshimura. And Pitch was so disappointed after that match because he had match points in that one. Or, yeah, I think it was that one he had match points in to take us to 1-1. But he had his chances in that match. But, you know, credit to Yoshimura, he didn't give up and he came back in and he got through that. So I went on at 2-0 down. But the way those matches went, I was like, we're not out of this. We can still turn this match around. And so I had that bit of it. And I had also the bit that, just for my own sake, I want to play a better match than what I did yesterday because I'm not letting that happen, that I'm in that frame of mind again, that I've come off here and I've still feel like I could have done more. Like, I'm not going to let that happen. I can't, you know, that's like, I won't be able to live with myself if I do that. So yeah, I just gave everything I had to that match. And yeah, I played some of the best stuff at that point I've ever played. And yeah, I think even I was surprised to be kind of, can't remember if I was 2-0 up and then he came back to 2-1 and then I won 3-1, or if it was 1-1 and then I won 3-1. I can't remember. It was a bit of a blur, really,
Yeah.
that match. But yeah, I just, obviously I won it, and I remember the celebration at the end. I was just like, that was more for the lads, the other two lads. Like, come on, we're still in this. We can still win this. We've still got a good chance here. Yeah, and then obviously Pitch went on against Mitsutani. And yeah, I mean, again, he had some great chances in that match. I think, 10-6 up in one of the sets, or even maybe two of the sets. But, again, Mr. Tony's an experienced player. He's been in those situations so many times in semis of Worlds and, stuff like that. So, it's, credit to him again, and credit to Japan, because obviously we'd come from nowhere and Japan were nervous. You could see they were nervous in that match. They didn't want to play us. They were scared. And, credit to them for, getting through it still. But yeah, I think at that point they just had more experience in that kind of situation than we had, which is, as expected, because we'd never been in that position before.
Brilliant.
Right. Okay, that's an exciting Worlds, wasn't it?
Well, do you know what? Sorry, Dave. Do you know what I would add to that as well? I think this is the first time insight of a modern day player taking us through a World Team Championships, and we've had so many different topics on our programs. So I think it's brilliant to hear an insight of a game by game analysis, or of how you feel in a tournament and being part of that team. So yeah, fascinating. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, and also I just want to repeat what I'd said earlier. And Sam's ability to be knocked down and got back up and knocked back down and still got back up again. So to all our young players, no defeat is permanent in table tennis. You always get another chance, and you mustn't carry a defeat into your next match. That's what weak players do. Right, so here we have young Sam back in workshop, a footballer and a cricketer. But then he takes up table tennis. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I played all three sports as long as I can remember. Dad, there's a story that Dad says I was 2 when he started me playing all the three, and I used to play against him on a stool on the other side of the table. So he was deputy head teacher of the school at that point. So he always had a key for the school, and obviously I'd have to wait for him after school. So we'd always play table tennis or cricket in the school hall, or football in the back garden, and my granddad played as well. So yeah, there's plenty of times when we'd go on a weekend. We went into the school, and I remember I was really young, like 5, 6, 7, and I'd be playing with my dad and my granddad on the table for hours and hours on a weekend. And yeah, I think that's why I got better at table tennis than the other two. I wasn't bad at cricket, to be fair. I wasn't great at football. I was okay, but football, I was never going to make a footballer. I think in all honesty, I might have had a chance of making a half decent cricketer. But yeah, I chose table tennis. I was much better at table tennis at that point. And I just remember having a conversation with Dad. At one point, I was probably 9 or 10, and he just said, "Look, you're obviously good at table tennis. I was beating the school players who were, I was in year 3 and they were in year 6, and I was the best in the school." And yeah, so I just remember having this conversation, and he was asking me, "Do you want to, take it more seriously, play properly, do proper training, and play proper tournaments?" And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, of course I do. I'm excited. I want to do it." And yeah, I think the first tournament I played was the under 11s, like the primary school singles. Or I played the primary school singles and team when I was in year 5 of primary school. So I was 10, and it was the under 11s. I played both of those. We won the team schools, English team schools, and I won the team singles as well. So obviously at that point, they were like my first tournaments that I played on a national level. I was like, okay, I'm not bad at this game. Maybe I should do it properly.
And are your teammates who helped you to that title? Are they still playing? Did they give the game up or
no? Yeah, I don't think they're playing anymore, or I know they're not playing anymore. I don't know if you know Aidan Keyworth. He was one of them. He was obviously a year older than me. There was Joseph Thursby, who was a year older than me. So they both played until they were about, I think Aidan stopped probably at 13 or 14, and Joseph stopped when he was a bit older, maybe 15, 16. So yeah, they played, but yeah, they kind of stopped before they got to the seniors or anything like that.
And you say you've told me about two of your coaches, Dad and Granddad. Were there any other coaches who had an influence on you around that time?
Yeah, I mean, when I had that conversation with my dad, that I spoke about, and if I want to take it more seriously, that's when he brought in Howard Knott, who was my coach from the age of 7 or 8, I think, until still now. You know, he still helps me a lot now, and you know, more so.
Right.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back, Sam. Yeah.
I don't know which bit you got or not. I don't know.
I only for like a few seconds. So
was it? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So talking about your coaches, and it was after Howard. It was. If you can just repeat that bit again in case we missed it.
Yeah. So Howard, when
and he still helps you now.
Yeah, he still helps me now. He's like more so now. He's like a second dad rather than a coach now. But he still helps me a lot, and I've got a very good relationship with Howard, and you know that will continue forever. You know, and that's never going to change.
And basically, you chose sort of Sheffield rather than Nottingham, didn't you? When you was developing, I guess workshops a bit closer.
Yeah, I mean. Obviously there was two obvious reasons for that. It was that the national centre was in Sheffield, and Sheffield was only 25, 30 minutes from our house rather than Nottingham, which was an hour to an hour 15 at that point. So I practiced 2 or 3 times a week in Sheffield after school from the age of 11 until 14. I did that, and then I played Sheffield League as well. The other days of the week I was practicing at my dad's school with Jason Ramage and Ben Barlow and Howard as well. But before that, actually, I practiced at Home Pierpont. So when I was 10 and 11, I went to Home Pierpont twice a week as well. But then when I was 14. So when I was kind of 14 to 16, the last couple of years that I was in England before I moved abroad, I went to Grantham to train twice a week as well as still training in workshop. My dad was kind of he was obviously very good in the sense that he always made it possible for me to practice every day, even when there wasn't those opportunities around, because obviously it was quite difficult with school, and I was still playing cricket at the time, so I was doing a cricket training once or twice a week and a match on the weekend. So it was quite difficult to travel to somewhere like Grantham more than twice a week, because you get about an hour to Grantham as well. So doing that more than twice a week, it was quite tough. So Dad was always good. He always organised for me to have, like players come in and practice. And obviously we were lucky that I had the facility at Redlands at the school that, I could have it whenever really, because obviously Dad had the keys and was opening up the table tennis centre and stuff like that. So I was lucky in that sense. But Dad was very, very like committed to my training, as well as me obviously being committed to it.
you found a way to practice. I mean, that's important, because sometimes I think it's so easy to say, actually, I can't get a good hit tonight. Sometimes you just got to find it. You got to bring players in. You just got to make it happen, and which clearly you did with the help of your dad. So you don't seem you've just about won every major title. There's just one eluding you at the moment. So did you have any setbacks at all on the way? Because it seems as though your career just went on a trajectory like this, winning all these titles and moving from one age group to the next seamlessly.
Yeah, domestically, yeah, absolutely. Domestically, it was like that. I think in England as well, kind of after like Liam and Gav and their generation, obviously before that it was Paul and Darius, Danny Reed. You know, there was a lot of players in those age groups, and I think after that there was always only kind of one or two players in every age group. So I think in terms of the opposition, I probably had it a bit easier than some players before me. I think after me, it's even been probably a bit easier for some players after me as well, I think. And I think that was missing for me, that real competition between more than just one other player. Because obviously when I was coming through, it was Zach Zalesnik. It was him and I who were kind of pretty far ahead of the other guys of our age. Really, I mean, you know, Igor Moraes challenged us a few times, and Helshan as well. But I think I lost to Igor once, and I don't think I ever lost to Helshan. So yeah, and I think that was what was missing for me, in terms of, because it was my progression in the domestic game through the age groups was very seamless, really. And obviously on one hand it gave me a lot of confidence, because I knew every age group I was the best in the country, and most of the time I was beating Zach as well, you know, and I was winning the nationals. Now that's all well and good, but when you then move on to the international, you know, kind of the international scene as a junior and a cadet, you know, we'd not had that kind of competition that a lot of those players had in their countries. And I think at that point, through the cadets particularly, I think those players were streets ahead of Zach and I. You know, the top players, we were okay, we weren't bad, you know, 20, 30 in Europe for cadets, but that's not going to cut it, you know, as a top, you know, that's not going to cut it. If you want to be a top player, you need to be better than that already at that point. And yeah, I think that's what we lacked. We didn't have the extra competition domestically. And so when we first went into those international tournaments, yeah, we were playing catch up. I mean, the top players were it wasn't particularly close. You know, the top players were pretty far ahead of us. You know, players like Flore at that point, Angles from France, Robinho from France. You had Geraldo from Portugal, Diaz from Poland. You know, all these players, Russians, who'd come through so much more competition in their own countries, that they were already pretty far ahead of us, and we were playing catch up. And that's when I knew, if I want to be a professional table tennis player, I have to go abroad as early as I can. Otherwise, I'm never going to catch up, you know. So
okay, right.
Hold on, sorry, my dinner's just arrived. I'll just grab it.
Go on then, Sam.
Sorry. Only when you're live on YouTube.
I tell you what, if you got while Sam's getting his dinner, have you got the quick fire ready? Well, let's give him a quick.
I do.
You've got. No, it's good to have this current player on, isn't it?
Getting his dinner delivered.
Sorry.
I think for our audience, I think the first thing before we're going to quit, what is for dinner?
It's like, because of COVID, so the restaurant of the hotel's not open. So they just put on like a menu of the day. So it's room service. So today I think it's ribs today, actually. So that's quite nice.
Right. Is it all hot? Is it going to stay hot for you, Sam?
Yeah. So I like that. Yeah. There you go. Got my ribs in there.
All right, well done. Good.
Don't worry. Fine. It'll be fine.
Okay, right. We're going to put you under pressure now, Sam, aren't we, Mark?
Yes. So Peter Shaw, one of our table tennis, greats. We won't call him a great now in Scotland. Well thought of everyone. So he created a quick fire question, and I'm delaying myself because I need to bring it up again because I had it up, but I've deleted it, so I need to bring it back up on my email. But yeah, so it's quick fire, Sam. No time to think. First answer counts. So it's all about basically describing your game, maybe opponent.
Okay.
So whatever comes in your mind first. So basically, first one's about style. Are you, for people who don't know your game, are you spin based, power based, or in between the two?
Spin.
Spin. Do you take the ball early, top of the bounce, or after?
Top.
What's your most effective or strongest stroke?
Backhand flick.
Least effective, weakest stroke?
Forehand push or flick.
From any player, the stroke you wish you had?
There's so many. That's the problem.
Pick one. One ahead right now.
Somebody's short forehand. Marlong's short forehand. That'll do me. That's fine.
Go with Marlong. It's a safe answer.
Yeah, that'll do me.
Your best or favourite serve that you use?
Just the pendulum topspin, regular pendulum sidespin topspin.
The best server you've ever received against?
Probably Anton Schellberg, but back in the day, a few years ago, when he was younger and hiding his serves more, and he was serving more aggressive back then. He's not quite as aggressive for his serves now, but yeah, that's probably him back in the day.
Your favourite opponent type? A defender, spinning player, blocker, power hitter?
Probably a blocker.
Your least favourite?
Yeah, defender, probably.
The best player you've ever played against?
Marlong.
I see, show off. The victory that gave you the most pleasure?
Gauzy in the Olympics.
Showing off again. The player you most admire?
Marlong.
And that is a quick fire. You did look nervous. Right?
And it was quick one day. Hey, there was no hesitation and no long-winded answers.
No, there was one hesitation when the shot. There's too many to choose from. There's too many shots of other players that I'd want to have. Yeah. But no, it's good. Good.
I think that, Mark, leads us nicely on to Sam. He's sort of outgrown. Outgrown. We can say he's outgrown. He's outgrown his practice. He's outgrown his partners, and he recognises it's time to fly the nest and go abroad. So, who helped you to? Did your dad sort of say go to Germany, or did Alan Cook say go to France, or did just tell us how you got into playing abroad? And were you feeling nervous about leaving home? And
so I mean, about leaving home, I was just excited. Obviously, at that age, living the dream. If I could, going to play in Germany as a full-time table tennis player, I was very, very excited. Mum, on the other hand, was distraught because I was leaving at 16. So I remember Mum and Dad dropped me off. They drove me over. We went on the ferry from Dover to Calais, and then drove up to Frankfurt, where I was the first year in Germany. And they dropped me off, and Mum was crying pretty much the whole time she was there. And yeah, obviously, but no, I mean, I had, I've been very lucky that I've had great parents and very supportive parents. And they both let me follow my dreams, and they've made equally they've made it happen as well. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. But yeah, so I think when I was 16, I went out, but when I was kind of 15, I knew already that's what I wanted to do, and that's what, if I wanted to be a good table tennis player, that's what I had to do. Obviously, saying that I was behind the other players in Europe for my age at that point. And I was sponsored by Brybar at that stage. And obviously at that point, Euler were their biggest distributor. So I spoke to Brybar, Barry and Sue. Again, love Barry and Sue, amazing people. You know, again, without them, without their help, I wouldn't be where I am today either. So big credit to Barry and Sue. And I spoke to them. They put me in touch with Euler in Germany. And I went over, I think in April of 2016. No, 2011, sorry, not 2016. I went over, I was 16, so I went over in the April of 2011 to a club that I knew nothing about. It was set up all through Euler. Euler were a sponsor of the club. They were a first Bundesliga club. At that time, the team was Stefan Mengel, Ruven Felix, Patrick Francisca, and they had a Chinese player. So, I mean, this is going back 10 years. So at that point, you know, although it sounds like an amazing team right now, at that point they were an up and coming team. They weren't challenging for the title or anything like that, but they were a decent team. And the coach was Helmut Hampel, who was, I don't know if you know, he was Timo Boll's coach, still is. He's now coach of the youth teams in Germany, or the under 23s, I think, and coached Francisca and Roscoff and coached Gernen when they won the Champions League. So, yeah, amazing coach. I went over there. So they had a training centre. I went over there. I did a day's training so that Helmut could have a look, see if I was good enough, basically, and just to meet me. And I met with Euler. Obviously Helmut seemed happy enough for me to join the group. And I spoke to Euler. I spoke to the boss of Euler at the time in Germany. And he basically said, look, we're willing to, pay. We're willing to take you on as a Euler Germany player through Brybar. And basically they said they'd pay for me to live there and train there. And I said, that's great. As they asked me what my plans were. And I said, I want to give it 3 years. I said, if after 3 years I'm not where I want to be, I'll stop. I'll go back to England. I'll go back to do my A-levels, and I'll go from there. But obviously nobody, I didn't want that, obviously, but I'm not stupid. I didn't do my A-levels. I still haven't done my A-levels. But I got my GCSEs and then moved straight out. So, at that point, you can always go abroad, but just going abroad and getting a place in a training centre abroad doesn't mean you're going to make it. There's still a long, long way to go till you can make it from there. And that's just the beginning. So, that was my plan. Give it 3 years. So I got a 3-year contract with Euler. And I trained obviously in that club in Hanau, the first league team, and a few other players. There were a few other younger players there, a couple of years older than me, but I was by far the worst player in the group. And I was playing in the fourth. I played for a team in the fourth league in Germany. I didn't earn any money, but I was able to live there for free. I had to pay for my food, but I earned no money. So any food that I had to buy was money that mum and dad sent me over. Money was tight, and money was tight for pretty much all the time I was in Germany, pretty much for the whole 8 years of being in Germany. But that's fine. That's a decision I'd made, and I was fine with that. So I played in that fourth division team in Germany, practiced there, improved quite a lot. Still playing the junior tournaments. Didn't make too many results in that year, really, but obviously still winning everything domestically. I think at that point it was my second year in the juniors. I won. I only came back home to play the junior masters and the junior nationals because I didn't have the money to come over and play any of the 4 stars or anything like that. So I came back home to play those. I won the junior masters without losing a match, and obviously won the nationals as well. So that was fine. But yeah, on the international junior scene, my results were very inconsistent. Some tournaments were okay, some tournaments were bad. And in the league, I think I played position 2 in the league, in the 4th league, and I was only 50-50 in that, 50% of my matches. So again, I didn't have a great season that season, but I knew that I was improving. How can you not improve in that setup? If you're not improving, there's something wrong. You're doing something wrong. If you're not improving when you're the worst player in the practice group and you've got a coach like that there, and it's the first time you've gone to train twice a day, every day. I was improving, and I knew I was, even though it wasn't coming out in my results yet. So it didn't demoralize me or anything like that. But yeah, unfortunately, after that club that I was training at, they ran out of money. They didn't have any money after that, so they they went bust, and that's no longer a club anymore. And then I moved to Grenzow, and I spent 2 years in Grenzow. And that first year in Grenzow is when I really started to make results. That's when I really started to kick on with my results. As I said, I was playing catch up with the rest of the European players my age. Yeah. And by that point, I'd caught up because a lot of them were still in their own countries, still practicing once a day, whereas I'd been practicing twice a day for a year. So, that decision paid off. I still wasn't the best in Europe by any stretch of the imagination, but I was top 10 at least, which is somewhere, closer to where I wanted to be. So the difference was as well, at that point, I was making some results in the seniors, and that's what was important. Because you can forget the juniors. Juniors doesn't matter, really. Juniors is just a indicator. It's an indicator of how good are you compared to the rest of the people your age in the world. But at the end of the day, if you win Europeans at junior level, it doesn't matter, really. In the grand scheme of things, nobody... If somebody in the senior world comes to me and say, I won the junior Europeans, but they're ranked 200 in the world and don't do anything, haven't done anything in seniors, I don't care, because juniors is a totally different level to senior table tennis. So, I was there or thereabouts in where I wanted to be compared to the other people in my age group. But the important thing for me was I started to get results on the senior level. I wasn't beating, top 100 players, but I was beating players at top 150. And for me at that point, that was good. That was a good, thing to go off to say, I'm on the right track here and I'm going to keep going.
If I can just, I'm really interested in this. Your table tennis seems to be well catered for, good coaching, good clubs. Obviously, you had the setback of the club going bust, but you quickly, smoothly, seamlessly moved to another club. Who looks after your diet? Who looked after your fitness training?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's seamless, moving clubs and stuff like that. But I mean, at that point, that was Eula who got me in the new club in Grenzow. So, that wasn't really much to do with me. That was more Eula. But I mean, diet, I didn't have anybody. I was just eating whatever, really. I wasn't getting anything from my diet, anything special. You just whatever I could get. And it wasn't too difficult to cook at that point. I'd eat. In terms of fitness training, we had a fitness guy who did the sessions, who ran sessions in the training group, because it wasn't just me. Obviously, there was a full group of players. So that club had employed a fitness coach, because at that point it's also a business for the club. The Eula were paying the club for me to be there and practice there. Obviously, I had to be at a certain level and had to be committed and dedicated and work hard. But yeah, it's still, what you have to realize is if you're training at a club that you're not playing at, you're not that important to the club. Yeah. It's more of a business for them. So you just have to make the most out of it yourself. There's nobody there's nobody there that's really going to push you properly, because at the end of the day, you're not turning out for their team every week. So you've got to push yourself. There's nobody there who's going to do it for you. So, yeah.
Wow. And did you have any other obligations? Did you have to do, I don't know, go into schools or anything? Or were you do media work? Or is your job simply to play table tennis and play it well?
No, just table tennis, yeah, literally. So at 16, I definitely didn't have any media obligations, because nobody cared about this little 16-year-old English boy who went to Germany, because nobody, like I say, you can be as good in the juniors as you want, but if you've not done anything in the seniors, nobody cares. So nobody cared about me at that point, because, I'd not done anything. So that's fair enough. But yeah, no school, nothing. I dropped all of it. I said, for the next 3 years, after 3 years, I want to be in the national team, or there or thereabouts, senior national team, close to, which was the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games. And I want to be there or thereabouts. And if I'm there or thereabouts, I'm happy. But to do that, I need to give it 100% of myself, no less. So that meant no school, nothing else. I was a full-time professional table tennis player from 16.
I was talking about, so when you moved like 4 or 5 years on, and currently now with your you're very well known table tennis player, do you have any other obligations now?
Okay, sorry, I didn't realise you meant now.
My apologies.
No, sorry, that's my fault. No, not really. Still, not much has changed. There's a few more media things, doing podcasts for you.
We're very grateful for some as well.
No, it's good. No, it's good. It's all good stuff. But yeah, so literally just media stuff. The issue is now I have more commitments in terms of tournaments and matches. So, the more commitments I have here is that I'm playing in a French league, so I'm traveling to those matches, and I'm playing, in more international tournaments. So there's more commitments in terms of my table tennis. That's all that's changed. Other than that, I'm still a professional table tennis player, trying to be the best I can be. Nothing's changed in that respect.
Brilliant, Mark. we're almost running out of time, and wow, it's been fantastic.
I think Dave, we're almost like, maybe Sam agrees to it. Maybe next month is a part 2 of Sam's career.
Yeah.
I think it would be because there's stuff obviously as we're running out of time of talking about Olympians, the World Cup in London, of course, most important one being in Glasgow and being a water boy. Obviously touching these points, but before we finish off, Dave, there's some questions come on YouTube, so I'll go to them.
Good. I'm going to get those.
Yeah, so first question from Brett Holt, who is sending his question from Sussex. What goes through your mind, Sam, before you play a world-ranked top 10 player? So going against Man Long or that level, what's going through your mind before you go into those games?
Nothing different to any other match I play. How am I going to try and play my game, first of all? Just trying to get focused on that, literally trying to play my game. There may be certain little things about the opponent that I might want to try and exploit, but the most of the time I want to try and go on the table fully prepared in terms of I'm fully prepared. That's a given. That's easy to do. The mental side is, I've got to be fully focused from point one, no matter who it is who I'm playing, because, as we know at the minute now in table tennis, everybody can play now. Since these new balls have come in, everybody can play table tennis. So if you're not on your game from ball one, you're under pressure straight away, because you're going to get put under pressure. So yeah, just focusing the mind on concentrating on point by point, not trying to not trying to look forward or back. Just concentrating on the point by point and how am I going to impose my game on the opponent, and then that changes throughout the game. So depending on how points and the match is going, that changes. You know, the way I play my game then changes throughout the course of a match. But you know, before a match, I want to be trying to think, how am I going to play the game that I want to play? That's the biggest thing.
Can I just again to all our young listeners? Sam's talking about the now point, not the one you've just lost, or one that's gone, finished, not the one in the future that's going to take care of itself. Sam is talking, it's mentioned a few times, the now point. So good point for all our youngsters, Sam, that concentrating on that point.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sam, my tip for you on food, if it goes off, it's good for you. Fish, vegetables. If it lasts a long time in a tin, it's bad for you.
Remember that. Take that. That's about right.
So next, you covered off a little bit there, but maybe about particular tricks and techniques. But my fellow selector Ian Rind talks about the 5 minutes before a big match. Is there anything particular you do those 5 minutes before you go in?
No, I mean, I've got my little routine where I've got the same stretches that I do, and then a bit of a warm up in terms of some fast feet, some jumps, a few sprints. Whether I listen to music or not, it doesn't really make a difference to me, that one. I know a lot of players want to listen to music before. For me, it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, then it's just, go in my head, just going through, certain aspects of what I want to do. So, the kind of serves I want to do, then how am I going to look to follow up those serves? Just being aggressive, really trying to visualize, me being aggressive with, backhand flicks, taking the ball at the top of the bounce, chasing every ball down, there's a few points that I've got that I know when I'm playing well, these are the things I do well, and just focusing on those before the match. And then, like I said, if the match starts and those things aren't going well, you have to find something else, and that's fine. But that's part of the fun of the match.
Brilliant.
Any more from YouTube?
Yeah, so our last question on YouTube, and as always, for such a young lad, a very poignant question from Ben.
I bet it's Ben, is it?
Yeah, it's Ben Hart. So we've had, obviously, there's a wee prelude to the question, is that it's also been a tough year, Sam, obviously table tennis wise for you, and obviously for everybody. But what motivates you to keep training and putting in the hard work?
Well, perfect last question, that.
Yeah, great question. I mean, look, there's no hiding from the fact that some days you don't want to get up, you don't want to go to practice, because it's a grind. You get tired physically, mentally, emotionally. And it is a grind, and there's going to be days where you don't want to do it, and some days it's never, you, with all your best intentions, you're not going to get in the right frame of mind to practice. And, whether then on that day you do an hour, but an hour of good quality work, as long as that doesn't happen all the time, if it's once in a month or something like that, that's fine. And you do an hour of good quality work, and then you go off and you get out of the hall and you take your mind off table tennis for a bit and you have a rest. And then you come back the next day more fresh with the fire in your belly again. But yeah, for me, that's part and parcel of it, because there's going to be those days. And most days you want to, you want to use your goals to drive that. And those days when you do feel like that, you have to use the goals to drive it. And like I said, most of the time, that's enough to do it. When you've got a good dedication and commitment to what you do, most days that is more than enough to drive you through those times when you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to go to practice, you're tired, for whatever reason. Most of the times that's enough to get you through it and drive yourself through it. And then you get halfway through the practice and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not that tired. I can keep going here. And then great, that's fine. But, like I said, some days you're just not going to be able to get yourself in that right frame of mind to get enough from the practice to do a full session. So, you know, those days it's okay sometimes. Like I said, as long as it's within reason, as long as you're not doing it every other day or every week, if it's, you know, once a month, because, you know, at the end of the day, we practice so much. We practice twice a day, every day. You know, if you've got one day a month where you only do an hour session, it's not going to change the world. As long as it's every time you're on the table, it's good quality. You know, missing a session or two here or there isn't going to change the world. And I think that's really important for everything, for your physical health, mental health, to just, you know, sometimes take a step back and say, no, today I'm having the day off, or today I'm only going to do an hour, or whatever that may be, as long as you are then still making sure you're ready, recovered, relaxed, ready for the next day to go again with that fire in your belly and whatever. There's no, you know, there's nothing to feel guilty about for doing that.
Right. Right. Well, that's been fun. Is there any last questions, Mark, before I wind up?
No, I think I'll hold on to them, because we were definitely having Sam back on again.
Yeah. Can you join us again sometime, Sam, for part two?
No, that's fine. No, not a problem.
I mean, I'm mindful your dinner's there, and I don't want it to go off.
Don't worry, no, it's not going to go off. Don't worry.
Well, look, Sam, it's great to see a Knox lad do so well, even though he doesn't support Forest. I nearly went an whole hour then.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting on it. It was in my book, Dave. No, still got it out.
I mean, what Sam has shown all of us, I mean, I often say to make it at the top, you've got to have an almost unnatural single-mindedness. And Sam's clearly got that. He's focused, he's driven. As I say, he bounces, he gets back up when he's knocked down, and he just pushes everything out the way to get his goals. He doesn't use excuses. If he has a bad defeat, as I say, he puts it behind him and he concentrates on the now point. Sam, you're a fantastic professional. It's been a pleasure from all of us at Table Tennis Scotland. A big thanks, and we're going to have you back.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks both of you, and thanks Table Tennis Scotland. And yeah, I'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Gonna live us off, Mark?